People who learn another language often wonder how good their second language is when they reach a certain point, and most people strive for excellence. So what do they usually do? They take some kind of academic test which assigns them a level, like B something or C something. The problem with such tests is that they don't always reflect the real picture or use practical real-life testing methods. In this video, I'll provide you with guidelines to assess how good your English is based on real-life experiences and interactions with native speakers. It won't be about counting words or knowing academic vocabulary that people rarely use in everyday conversations, which actually make up 90% of our communication. Far too often, people apologize for their English thinking it's terrible, especially during situations like job interviews. But in 90% of cases, they hear a response like, "Your English is great." For example, my husband thought his English wasn't good enough to get a job. However, when he went for an interview, they told him they thought his English was very good. We hear this all the time from native speakers. If you can express yourself understandably, even with an accent, and if you can understand what they're saying, even if you occasionally need them to repeat or rephrase, they often say your English is excellent. So, I've identified 5 key aspects that can help you realize that your English is so much better than you think. These can put your mind at ease and motivate you to keep learning and improving, especially if you've been feeling discouraged or stuck. And the first one is catching yourself understanding English by ear and without subtitles. Okay, so catching yourself understanding English without subtitles is a big deal. It's like a light bulb moment that shows how far you've come. Think about it. When you're watching a movie, a show, or even a YouTube video and you suddenly realize, hey, I actually get what they're saying. That's your brain working at an advanced level. If you can understand the gist of what someone is saying, even if you don't know or understand every single word, that's a big win. It means your brain is piecing things together based on context and the words you do know. Honestly, even native speakers don't pick up on every word all the time. What matters is that you understand the gist, the overall meaning. If you can follow the storyline, understand the jokes, and react to what's happening, that's proof your listening skills are on point. It shows that your English is practical. You're not just memorizing words or grammar rules. You're actively using your skills to understand real, natural conversations. And guess what? That's exactly what makes your English excellent. It's not about perfection. It's about connecting with the language in real situations. So if you catch yourself watching a show without subtitles and actually enjoying it, your English is way better than you might have thought. The next one is catching yourself using idiomatic expressions and phrases in your speech. Alright, so when you catch yourself using idiomatic expressions and phrases in your speech, that's a huge sign that your English is on another level. Idioms aren't just regular vocabulary. They're those quirky little phrases like break the ice or spill the beans that don't mean exactly what the words say. Native speakers use them all the time. So when you're throwing them into your own conversations, it shows that you're really getting the hang of how English works. Using idioms makes your speech sound more natural and fluent because that's how real conversations flow. It's one thing to say, "I was nervous," but it's next level to say, "I had butterflies in my stomach." See the difference? One is fine, but the other makes you sound like someone who's truly comfortable with the language. And here's the thing. If you're using idioms in your speech, it means that you've had a lot of interaction with English and quite a bit of experience with the language. Let's be real. Remembering idioms and knowing when to use them appropriately takes time and a solid understanding of context. It's not something you just memorize. It's something you pick up from real conversations, movies, shows, and daily interactions. You might not be 100% accurate every time, but guess what? Neither are native speakers. People mix up idioms, tweak them, or use them creatively all the time. The fact that you're even using idioms in your speech means that your English is way better than you might think. On to the next one. You catch yourself understanding different accents. This is really impressive because accents add a whole new layer of complexity to listening in English. Think about it. There's not just one way to speak English. You've got British, American, Australian, Indian, and countless other accents, each with their own rhythm, pronunciations, and even unique phrases. If you find yourself following along conversations in different accents, even if it's not 100% perfect, it's a huge sign that your English is much better than you might think. It shows that your ears have adapted to how English sounds in different contexts, which isn't easy. Understanding accents requires a deeper familiarity with the language and exposure to real-life situations, movies, TV shows, or conversations where these accents are present. And here's the cool part. If you can grasp the overall meaning of what someone is saying, even when their accent is new or challenging to you, that's an advanced skill. It's not just about knowing vocabulary and grammar anymore. It's about being able to process the language naturally in all its variations. Let's be honest, even native speakers sometimes struggle with unfamiliar accents. So if you're catching yourself understanding different accents, it's proof that your English is way more flexible and practical than you might have realized. That's definitely excellent in real-world terms. All right, now let's talk about not being afraid to talk to native speakers. This is such a huge milestone because it's one thing to practice English on your own, and it's a whole other level to actually use it with native speakers. If you've reached the point where you're willing to start conversations, ask questions, or just chat with native speakers, that says a lot about your confidence and ability in English. Talking to native speakers can feel intimidating at first. You might worry about making mistakes, not knowing the right words, or being judged. But here's the truth. If you're doing it anyway, that shows that you've pushed past those fears and decided that communicating is more important than being perfect. And guess what? That's exactly what excellent English is all about. Using the language to connect with people, even if it's not flawless. Native speakers rarely expect you to be perfect. In fact, most of them admire the effort you're putting in to speak their language. And by talking to them, you're not just improving your speaking skills, you're learning how real-life English works, from slang to natural intonation. And that's something you can't fully get from books or apps. And lastly, let's dive into not feeling embarrassed about your English, because this is such a game changer. If you reach the point where you can speak English without constantly worrying about mistakes or how you sound, that's a massive sign of progress. It shows that you've accepted that learning a language is a process and that making mistakes is part of the journey. Here's the thing. Nobody speaks perfectly all the time, not even native speakers. They mix up words, pause to think, and sometimes use the wrong grammar too. So when you stop feeling embarrassed and just focus on expressing yourself, you're doing exactly what fluent speakers do. Communicating confidently, even when it's not perfect. Not feeling embarrassed also means that you're willing to put yourself out there. You'll speak up in conversations, ask questions, and even joke around, all of which make your English feel more natural and real. Plus, it makes people more likely to engage with you because confidence is contagious. If you can laugh at your mistakes, take feedback as part of learning, and keep going without beating yourself up, it's a sign that your mindset has shifted. And honestly, that's one of the biggest factors in learning any language. It's not just about knowing words and grammar. It's about using what you know without fear. That's what makes your English not just good, but excellent. Listen, your English might never reach the level of a native speaker, and that's absolutely normal. But it doesn't mean that your English can't qualify as excellent. excellent. To be honest, it's very subjective. Many factors play a role here, like your age, your background, and the opportunities you've had. For example, if someone starts learning English in their 60s and reaches a level where they can communicate with others, I'd say their English is excellent. Or if someone comes from a very poor background, learns English on their own, using whatever resources they can find, and achieves a conversational level, even if they have an accent or make mistakes, I'd still say that their English is excellent. And by excellent, I don't mean there's nothing more to learn and you've mastered every skill and there's no room for improvement. I mean, it's excellent for that person in their specific situation and in real life settings. Because there's always room for improvement, even for the smartest and the most skilled. What I want you to remember is this. Even if you practice English just a little bit, but do so consistently, your skills will inevitably improve. So be patient and keep going. Well, thank you guys for watching this video. If you've watched it till the end, that's excellent. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope you found it useful, and I really hope that it motivated you to keep going and keep learning if you felt stuck. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.